Today, I will be talking about limestone and its uses. The learning objectives today are learning about thermal decomposition, the limestone cycle, uses of limestone, and the pros and cons of those uses. Firstly, thermal decomposition. One common reaction of any metal carbonates is known as thermal decomposition, which is when metals are heated, they're broken down and form metal oxide and carbon dioxide gas. Some examples are copper 2 carbonate, which goes to copper 2 oxide plus carbon dioxide, and sodium carbonate, which goes to sodium oxide and carbon dioxide. Sodium is a very reactive metal. Therefore, this means that sodium carbonate is very stable and requires a high temperature to decompose, whereas copper is a very unreactive metal, which is, for example, why it is used for water pipes, as it decomposes at a relatively low temperature. The stability of metal carbonates can be related to the reactivity series of metals. The higher up the series the metal is, the more reactive the metal is, so that the more stable the metal carbonate is. The quicker the lime water becomes milky, the greater the rate of decomposition of the carbonate, which in hindsight means that the carbonate is less stable. Next, we'll be talking about the limestone cycle. Calcium carbonate, calcium oxide, and calcium hydroxide are all made from limestone and have important applications. So therefore, we need to know how they are made. Calcium carbonate is found naturally within limestone. When the limestone is heated strongly, the calcium carbonate it contains decomposes to form calcium oxide, which is indicated by a very vivid orange glow as it is heated. Calcium oxide, which is also known as quicklime, is also a key ingredient of cement and also used to make certain types of plaster. Calcium oxide then reacts with a few drops of water and forms calcium hydroxide. This is an exothermic reaction, which is indicated by the water turning to steam. The solid remains white but crumbles into a powder as the water is added. The calcium hydroxide, which is also known as slaked lime, is usually used to neutralize excess acidity, for example, soil affected by acid rain. The calcium hydroxide dissolves in excess water to produce calcium hydroxide, lime water, which is used to test for carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide reacts with the calcium hydroxide to form a white calcium carbonate, which is insoluble and so therefore turns the lime water, as we call, milky. So what are the uses for limestone? Well, some main uses are it can be used in building material. It is a major ingredient in things such as toothpaste and food additives, as the calcium ions help for strong teeth and bones. It can be processed to use as raw material in chemical industry. It can also be used to neutralize acidic soil to therefore help more crops grow. Mainly used for large-scale agricultural things. Quicklime, slaked lime is also used for neutralizing water sources in lakes that can be affected by acid rain as well. And another use is in cement, which is for concrete and aggregate, which is a massive factor in the building in the construction industry. So limestone is also used to remove impurities from blast furnaces when making iron. These are such as silicon dioxide or sand. With the calcium carbonate in the limestone reacts with the silicon dioxide, which forms calcium silicate. There are pros and cons of the uses and the overall thing of limestone. So the main advantages are such as vital building materials. They provide employment for locals or those further afield. They help support the local economy and also implements better roads for increased travel. However, the disadvantages to start off with is the increase in traffic, such as there'll be lots of lorries in and out of, especially if it's a small town. It can be quite impacting on traffic in workflow. It could destroy the landscape, as well as, wildlife habitats, which is always a cause for concern. There could also be an increase in noise pollution, as well as normal pollution from increasing vehicles and increasing things such as dust, which can obviously cause things like, can affect people with asthma. So there are advantages and disadvantages. So depending on your view, there's good and bad, but the main advantages are that, employment and building materials, especially for small local towns or villages, can be helpful. It's just with that comes the increase in traffic. So these are the pros and cons. That is the end of the lesson.